So I've been prepping, you know, my best of worst of list of last year, and then suddenly the Fyre Festival docs came out because we were lucky enough to get two of them from two different streaming services because I kept hearing everyone's reaction to the documentaries explaining more of how much of a shit show this festival thing was. And I remember being at work and like talking to my colleague, and we were just like I was just on my phone like while shit was unraveling. I was like, yo, and then this happened. Just like the two of us just like, ooh, what happened today? What else did we know? So yeah, I'm gonna talk about both documentaries and kind of like my feel on the whole festival thing. Like, before I start watching them, I'm just gonna say that I've never gone to a music festival before, especially one that's supposed to span several weekends, you know, like Coachella and that kind of stuff. I've actually never been to Ozfest. I've never been to Warped Tour. The closest thing I ever went to that it's like either multiple stages, you know, that kind of stuff. Oh my god, I would love to go to Vakken. But the closest I ever went to was the Cure's Curiosa tour, like, obviously. So, you know, it was like, Muse was on this stage, Interpol was here, and then, like, whoever the fuck is there, and then The Cure played. Like, that was the only thing that was, like, I've gone to those closest, and they were, like, you know, in the States. They weren't expensive, you know, I was with, like, my sister, you know? So, I don't have experience, like, flying to like the Bahamas and being trapped there. So let's hope that never happens. Fucking flew all the way to Thailand, made it back alive. But anyway, so the first one I'm gonna watch is from Hulu, which is called Fyre Fraud. And it seems like both of them are 96 minutes long, and they both, you know, approach it differently. But yeah, I'm gonna watch Fyre Fraud. I'll be back. It said a lot of things that I already had an idea about because of all the tweets and all this stuff. But just, like, this one talked about kind of, like, a little bit of the dude's background to kind of understand why he's a piece of shit. You know, like, pretty much, like, he's been, like, what do you call it? Like, being a fraud since a child. He's been, like, a manipulative person since he was a kid. Awesome! You know? Great, man. I heard that the Netflix one gets really intense, but I'm gonna have to leave that for tomorrow since it's getting really late. But yeah, so this one, you know, it talks about all the people, and it's kind of, this kind of focus on, yes, like, obviously the guy's history, of course, the whole Fyre Festival thing, but also had like a underlining kind of thing about how like millennials and being easily influenced by blah 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 kind of stuff, and it's like you would see this on your feed. I don't follow people like that, so like I didn't know about this festival thing happening until, you know, when it went wrong and all the tweets came out and the cheese sandwich thing and the fucking refugee camp shit came out. So I'm like, okay, obviously I don't follow any of the, like, I love how it's like, okay, of course, like, what's her name? Fuckface Kendall Jenner, and then, like, those model people, like, obviously they didn't show up, I'm not surprised, you know. It just makes me think, like, yeah, I wouldn't trust them anyway, because, like, their whole job is to promote things, so it's like, girl, you're supposed to, like, wear something and look good, you're supposed to say, yeah, this thing is great, so, I don't know. Again, I don't follow these people, so it's not like I would be like, oh my god, they're gonna be here, I could totally meet so-and-so, I don't give a shit. I like how one person in the doc, one influencer, actually got, like, a villa. She was like, oh my god, like, we actually got a villa. I kind of felt bad. Shut the fuck up, bitch. You didn't feel bad. Everyone else was, like, dying outside. You're like, I'm in this villa, and my friends and I are dancing, and, like, we're vlogging. you know, like all that shit. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. It was so fucking vapid, like, of a person, you know? She was just like, oh, we heard about this, you know, thing. And we're like, we have to go. We have to go. You know? And it's easier to do that when you're slightly congested. But yeah, it's just like, you know, kudos to the people who did vlog their whole horrible experience, you know, them being like with their, like, cameras, and they're like, just, try to leave, but can't, okay, we were on the plane, now we're off, shit, okay, now we're finally getting home, yeah, so, I feel like this felt like, you know, the too long didn't read kind of version of it, even though it's like an hour and a half long, you know? It's like stuff I already know about it, although I do like that they had the guy who had the Twitter account, the Fyre fraud account. I was like, oh, bitch, okay. Like, you're the one who had it. You're the one who, like, called it out. Awesome, you know? Yeah. Again, I heard the Netflix one gets crazy, so, like, once I'm done with that one, then I compare and contrast my notes, you know? But yeah, so, again, it's just, also in this one, they have the main guy, the fraudulent asshole, being interviewed, and it's so funny when he's, like, caught in a lie, you know? Like, well, in a lie, and when the interviewer is really quick, you know, with, like, asking, like a harder hitting question. So it'd be, like, a simple thing, like, so you felt like this was gonna work, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yeah, and you can tell he's, like, really confident. He's sitting there, like, you know, like, yeah, of course, because da-da-da-da, you know, and, like, you see that's, you know, like, how his brain works, is, like, his confidence and him just, like, talking a big game about stuff. It's like, yeah, you can see how, like, why people are like, oh, man, this guy knows his stuff. But the interviewee person was just kind of like, yeah, but we have proof that this did happen. And he would be like, or this didn't work, or whatever the situation was. And he would sit there, and his his sitting there, you know, like, confidence goes from, like, blah, 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 to being like, well, you know, like, that's not the point. I mean, like, I can't really talk about that right now. Like, I'm currently, there are legal proceedings. I can't, you know? I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are you, like, me on the phone? You know? I'm not just like, oh, yeah, hi, I'm calling, about, I paid this, bill, you know? Like, dude, what the fuck, you me? You know? Like, jeez, and it's like, I don't know, I just find it so funny, like, how transparent that is, you know, where he gets so caught like that, you know, and it's like, dude, you know, if you believe your lies so much, I guess also people like that usually don't get, because they sound so confident, most people won't question what they say. They'll be like, oh, of course they know their shit, so I'm not gonna ask any more questions, whereas obviously with this doc, they're trying to, like, you know, go, like, ask the hard-hitting questions and go further in and all that stuff, and it's just funny how, like, he just stumbles immediately, and I'm just like, bitch, oh my god. And it's also, like, people that, like, used to work with the guy were like, oh yeah, like, I worked at the thing because it was a job, blah, 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 and they're like, let me just spill the tea kind of shit. And then there's other people who are like, yeah, I did it because, you know, like, that was my job. I was told to, you know, make these social media posts. I was told to, what's the word? Like, block out words and have them automatically be deleted. Like, I was told to do this and all this stuff. And it's like, alright, you know, and there's a certain point where people can't always keep giving the excuse of, well, I was ordered to do this, so I did it kind of shit, you know? Like, come on, man. I've lost jobs because I, you know, talked back. Because I was like, yeah, this ain't cool. And they're like, well, do you still want a job? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you have to listen to us. And I was like, no, you're full of shit. And they're like, all right, today's your last day. And I was like, okay, bye. You know? Like, probably why I'm still unemployed. But it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Some people they see the money more than anything and all that stuff. But like, Jesus Christ, he had to like forfeit like $2 million or something. And I love how it ended in like 28 cents. And I was like, I got that 28 cents. I don't know about like 2 million. I got 2 million facts in this brain that are, you know, not helpful, like in Jeopardy, but maybe like rock and roll Jeopardy or something. You know, like, oh my god, that was an adventure. That was definitely an adventure of 96 minutes of just like, well, okay. All right, so it's the next day, and I finished watching the Netflix one, and the Netflix one is a little bit more on like the batshit crazy side of the not of the festival, but just like in general for like a documentary. And now, especially since I've watched both of them, like a good compare and contrast is like I would say, and I know more people watch the Netflix one because more people I think have Netflix than they do like Hulu Plus and stuff like that. But I feel like if you haven't watched any of them yet, I would suggest watching the Hulu one first and then watching the Netflix one because watching the Hulu one, you get more of a backstory on the dude and kind of like why, like I said before, like why he's the piece of shit that he is. Kind of like I've been like hustling people since I was a little kid with fucking crayons and shit like that, and then it just built up and built up to now to this where like it's not just me hustling people. It's like I got other people and I got a company of people. I've got influencers and modelers, wow. Supermodels and like all this shit. Like I've got like all these people who have like drank the Kool-Aid and are like coming down, coming on this ride with me kind of shit. Whereas the Netflix one, it immediately is just like, yo, Fyre Festival, this shit's happened. We kind of mention his like credit card bank account lugs thing. Like they kind of weave that in and out, kind of like, yeah, like, the magnesis or Mandinana thing, and it's just kind of like, oh, they do that. Anyway, we're talking more about this. And obviously the Netflix one is definitely more focused on the, thank you, more focused on the festival itself, which is fine because that's what we want to know about. But it's also good that, like I said with the Hulu one, you're kind of learning why he is this way. And then, yeah, they had the little social commentary thing about how, like, online influencers and although the Netflix one did bring in the point that it was late, so my brain couldn't function. What I was trying to say that now, because, like, I think Europe has cracked down on a law, and then, like, here in the States, they're starting to the FTC is starting to get, cracking down, I guess that would be the word, on people who have sponsored content because of the Fyre Festival thing, because people were just hashtagging the festival and all that stuff and whatever, but they're not saying they're being paid for this, because it was like Kendall Jenner was paid $250,000 to do one goddamn post about it, yeah, so, like, bitch got paid that much money just to do the post. And then what was really funny, it's not funny, but what was really funny is that I remember, like, right after all this, and people were like, I can't believe Kendall Jenner would do, and I'm like, she was probably paid. I'm like, are all y'all stupid? Like, obviously she's promoting this shit because she's getting paid. Like I said before, with, like, models, like, you're supposed to just, like, show, like, these clothes or a lifestyle or something. Like, yeah, you're being paid, that's why you're doing it, not everyone is gonna be like, well, like, because there are, like, the celebs or the people who get sponsored stuff or whatever that would say, like, oh, guys, I'm gonna be real with you, I only, sponsor, like, or I only, like, do things that, like, I support. So it's like, oh yeah, I'm really into, like, I really like Samsung phones, so I'm not gonna do an ad for iPhone or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, this freaking, like, tummy tea that will blow my ass out, I totally like that. Like, there are some people who are gonna be more honest about it, and then there are others who are just like, money? Fine, I don't give a shit. I'll post whatever, And I just find it funny that people are, like, mad at these, like, models and stuff that put it out. And I'm like, no, the problem is that dude. The problem is that the dude had gotten away with it for so long, and, you know, like, even pretty much convinced Ja Rule, which wasn't a very smart guy to begin with, to be part of it. And then in the Netflix one, they even, what do you call that, showed, like, the aftermath after, you know, the whole thing went up in flames, and they had this huge conference call, and Ja Rule was like, no, we're a family, and we gotta, you know, get this, and we gotta, like, you know, like, to know, like, you know, like, all publicity is good publicity kind of shit. There's no such thing as bad publicity, and we gotta, like, take the bull by the horns, and, like, just pretty much trying to, like, turn the thing around on them. And it's like, that's not gonna happen when it's not like it wasn't like an isolated thing, even though, yeah, they were all trapped on an island, but it wasn't like a thing where, like, one person or 5 people were upset about something, you know what I mean? Like, it was it like 6,000 people or something were on the island? Like, a large group of people were on the island, they were stuck there. There's, you know, all of this, like, real-time, like, Twitter shit, Instagram, like, all this real-time social media shit that was unfolding. And as much as they were trying to, like, you know, stop it and delete it and stuff, like, you know, we're at the age where everyone's gonna have receipts, you know? So it's like, it's just so funny how, like, they were trying to do that. And they, plus, the Netflix one, they interviewed a little bit more, like, different people. I feel like the Hulu one, like, people being interviewed were a little bit more real. They were like, yo, this was crazy, like, the way how they spoke about it, they're like, yeah, this guy was a fucking asshole. They also had, like, the camera angle where it's, like, a little bit low, where you see, like, their full body, and you could kind of see, like, them, like, if you know, like, how they, like, sit or something. And then they'll have the 2 shots where it's, you know, you see the full body, then it's like, or 3, depending on who they're interviewing. So it's either, like, the full body shot, the straight on one, and then there's, like, the 3/4 angle one with, like, the dramatic lighting as I have right now. And it's like, yeah, you know, like, we just did, blah, blah, blah. But the Netflix one was just just like this, just like, I'm talking, and everyone's a little bit somber, and they're like, yeah, you know, like, we thought this was gonna work out, and I don't. It was just kind of funny. And the Netflix one did not interview the guy Billy himself, again, but it was more of the team that they didn't get for the interview for Hulu, which was the Fyre team themselves. And it really sucks for them, because a lot of them are in debt because they were like, oh yeah, I believe this guy so much, I'll put it on my charge card and all that shit. You know, so a lot, like, one dude was like, yeah, was it $250,000 of debt, and then, like, Amex is suing them. I'm like, that sucks, you know, because you trust the guy. And oh my god. And then there's, like, the couple spots where you were like, you find yourself going, what? With the Netflix one, where that frickin' Eastern European guy was like, yeah, you know, I just bought this plane recently, and then I got my license, like, you know, shortly before that, because I learned how to fly via Microsoft Flight Simulator. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? And the guy's like, thing that he does whenever he flies people is that, like, he cranks it up and kills the engine and goes 0G, and you're like, wow, you know, you see footage of Ja Rule like, oh my god, because that's Ja Rule's voice. They're like, oh my god, but it's like, you know how many times I played, like, Microsoft Flight Simulator back in the day, and I always crash. It's like, alright, we're going up, I don't know what's happening! Like, never got to fully fly. It's like, we're at end, we're done. You know? And then there was that poor man, that, like, older man that was just like, I always believed in Billy, you know, because, and he's like, I'm in my sweater, and I wear sweaters because I'm a lovely older man, and I was about to suck dick for fucking, like, a truck or 2 or something of Evian water. Like, what? Oh my god! Like, he even said, he was like, oh, I got up, he was like, and the fact that, like, that kid convinced him to do that, because he's like, you've got to take one for the team, and he's like, I thought I've been taking one for the team every day, and he was like, he's like, well, since you're the gay one, which was like, wow, that's That's nice, you asshole. You're the gay one. I need you to go down there and suck the customs dude dick for them to release our water. I'm like, oh my god. And the guy was like he seriously prepared himself for it. It wasn't just like, wait, what? You know, he like, okay, he like showered, he was like, with like, you know, with mouthwash and all that shit, and then he fucking was like, he's like preparing himself to go down to that office, and he was like, alright, I'm gonna do it, and the guy was like, hey man, I'll release the water, just pay this fee, da-da-da. And he was like, man, I almost sucked dick for some Evian water, like, you know? That was like one of the crazier things where it's like, oh my god, you know, like definitely the comparisons, like the Hulu one was more like informative and you understand the whole thing plus the background of it, and the Netflix one was like, yeah, that, but like, bitch, we know what you want to like hear about. We want to see crazy shit, you know? And then like the Hulu one also like did interviews with the influencers, so they were just like, yeah, we were promised villas, or like, I got a villa and you know, or some of them were like, or like both of them use like footage from those influencers and stuff, because those things are probably on YouTube and they're probably on like their social media, so they just like, you know, grab the footage and all that stuff. And it's funny because there was like the one girl who was like, or maybe it's the same girl, I don't know, because they all have that look, you know, all those influencers have that look to them. And she was like, oh, you know, I can't believe this was supposed to be, that's not her accent, but I don't give a shit. She was like, this is supposed to be like private jets, but like, this is like not even economy, it's like lower than economy. And I was like, ah! Also, I think she was like in the middle seat, but I'm also like, you're probably 5 pounds, like, middle seat doesn't mean shit to you, unless you're one of those people who are like, oh, fat people's fat are just falling all, you know, that kind of shit. But, oh my god, it's one of those things where, yeah, on one hand, you're laughing at these people who bought into this bullshit and lost their money, and they're like, haha, you're fucked. But at the same time, you feel so terrible for the people in the Bahamas who, like, worked day and night and have not gotten paid. And in all honesty, the sad thing is that they probably will never get paid, you know? It's so terrible. Like, one of the guys who ended up being, like, attending the thing, he won, like, a $5 million settlement. And it's like, are you gonna divvy that up? You know? Like, I think he's still waiting, like, to be paid, all that stuff, obviously. But it's like, are you gonna divvy that up? Like, you know, like, is there gonna be like an international thing where like the country of the Bahamas is gonna sue the guy himself, you know? Like, that part is just, it's terrible that, you know, like, you're laughing on one hand, but on the other hand, you're like, I feel sorry, this white dude exploiting y'all black people, I'm sorry, you know? You're like, ah! But yeah, oh my god, this was like, he knew it was fucking insane. Oh, and then the whole, like, the guy was, like, out on bail, and he was just like, I'm out on bail. I still live in a penthouse with, you know, some fucking way how I do it. But then he was like, let me try to do another scam. And it was like the NYC, wow. The NYC VIP passes and stuff. And part of me's like, did I get any of those emails? Because that, like, just seeing NYC VIP passes just felt, like, I feel like that felt familiar, even though, like, I wasn't on no Fyre Festival email thingies, but I don't know, I used to go to shows a lot, so, you know, sometimes, like, third-party things, you get lumped into those, and you just kind of, like, ignore those emails or delete them. Especially, like, I would totally ignore if a thing said, hey, do you want to get Grammys, VIP passes, or you want to go Victoria's Secret? Like, I don't give a shit about those things. Like, and then, even if I saw something about Met Gala, as much as I love that kind of shit, it's like, you can't, like, these things you can't just buy tickets for, especially the Met Gala, because freaking Miss Aldo Winslow has to be like, you're cool, you know? There's been stories of people trying to crash the Met Gala, and then they get kicked out because, you know, when they say your name's not on the list, it's like, bitch, who is you? You know? Yeah, it's like, it's so crazy that then they grabbed this other guy who was like 14, he wasn't, but like, he was a baby, and he was just like, doing, like, kind of robocalls, but he was just like telemarketer calls, like constantly calling people. And the dude Billy was like, oh, well, if no one answers, call a second time, because people answer on the second call. It's like, no, a lot of us have learned that, you know, we just don't answer the phone, and if it is important, they'll leave a voicemail. Like, that's what I do now, because after, you know, answering the phone to randos screaming at me, and I'm like, okay, no. Or like, ma'am, this is not your son's phone. I've had this number for like well over 10 years. No, I haven't kidnapped your son. Ma'am, I don't know where your son is. Stop yelling at me. And click and block the number, you know? But yeah, wow, what a way to start off my fucking weekend with this crazy shit. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, yeah, that was the Fyre Festival, docs. And wow, I feel like I need to talk more about whenever I watch docs and stuff, because I feel like last year when I watched the Rachel Dolezal one, like that could have been like talked about. But anyway, yeah, so that was Fyre Festival stuff. I'll get my best of worst of thing out and more Thailand videos. But anyway, yeah.